Hello and welcome to the Rare Voices podcast. I'm Mark Rowland, and in the final episode of this series, we'll be asking, how do we raise awareness of rare conditions?
I kind of found it difficult to talk to people about my health journey, I guess.
Everybody's journey is so personal and can be so varied and different.
Many patients struggle to explain their illness to family and friends, as public awareness of these rare conditions can be very low. It's also a challenge for charities campaigning for patients and fundraising for conditions that might not be familiar to those who don't have them or are not immediately affected. I am joined again by Stacey Perry, whose daughter lives with Fanconi Anaemia, and Javita Fawcett, who has Paroxysmal Nocturnal Haemoglobinuria. We'll also hear from Paula Smith, who lives with Dyskeratosis Congenita. All of our guests today have been involved in campaigning to raise awareness of rare conditions. Hello to you both.
Hi.
So I know you're both very active on social media. How do you use it to raise awareness for your conditions?
One of the main platforms that I use to raise awareness is Instagram, because you can use the hashtags. It was one of the first things that I used when I was first looking into the condition for my daughter. I typed in the hashtag and up came, people's stories, people's profiles with Fanconi Anaemia, which really helped me. And that's where I kind of decided I was going to go down the same route as a parent. So just by being able to share hashtags of Fanconi Anaemia, Fanconi Hope, it's difficult because they've got to do it two different spellings, because the American spelling for anemia is different to the UK spelling. So just making sure we do that, but just connecting and putting yourself out there for people to find you and you to find them has just widened the support and the community that is in mine and Kyra's life.
Is Kyra aware of what you're doing on social media? Does she get involved at all?
Yes, so she's 13 now. So obviously when she was younger, it was very much like I was sharing the story. But as she's got older, I've definitely included her and used her voice. And more recently, she actually asked, she's obviously aware of what TikTok is. And even though she doesn't have her own account, she did ask if she could do almost like a day in the life. So she was going for her bone marrow aspirate. And she wanted to record little videos, and we actually did a little video with her voiceover in her words, which I think is so important now she's 13 to give her that control, because it's obviously been my voice and my words for so long, but ultimately it is her journey. So now she is older, to include her, and I always, now she's older and I have for a few years, if I'm going to share anything, I always ask her permission, because it is her story. I ask permission to share photos. She's, fully on board with everything because she wants to raise awareness. She knows how special she is. She knows how rare her condition is. And because of the difficulties she's faced with that, I think she really knows the importance of seeking support from others. And she is just a massive role model in that sense and such an inspiration.
That's brilliant. Jovi, what's your platform of choice for social media?
I also use Instagram. I started an Instagram account because I kind of found it difficult to talk to people about my health journey, I guess. And I was never really sure who really cared that much. And I didn't want to overshare with people if they didn't want to know. And so I started Instagram as an outlet for myself, that I could share what I wanted to share, and people could, read it if they wanted to, but not have me kind of forcing them to know if they didn't want to. And yeah, it's been really, really good. Obviously with Instagram, you have to share photos, which can be kind of annoying, but it's also a really great platform to be able to meet people. And obviously, as Stacey said, using the hashtags, it allows people to search up their conditions and actually, easily find other people who are going through similar experiences.
So what does a sort of typical post look like for both you on your channels? And what tends to do well?
I do think when I use Kyra's voice and put quotations in of what she's saying or what she's been through or how she's feeling, does help. Her actual experience and keeping it quite personal, because I think if people want to know the facts and the figures and the statistics, then that's that's something entirely separate from our specific journey. Everybody's journey is so personal and can be so varied and different. And I think her TikTok did do really well because it was her voice. It was what she wanted to say. And even us two in the same household have different experiences. So like I say, just now putting that on her to be able to say her truth.
I really like seeing Kara's story on your Instagram. For the past couple of years, it's been really nice to follow along with her story. But I really enjoyed seeing the video that she did with her voiceover because it just, I don't know, it's the first time I've heard her voice and knowing, well, never having met her, but knowing of her for the past couple of years, it was really nice to just hear a little bit of her telling her story.
Thank you.
I really liked it.
That's great. What sort of thing do you post, Toby?
I post a lot of different things. I post updates about my health and my journey, obviously. So new medications or if I'm going to have a procedure done. I post information on PNH and the various things that have come along with that. So gallstones, for example, I had issues with that, so I made a post about it. But I think the posts that get the most interaction, I guess, are the shock posts. So my stories about when I've had meningococcal infections. So I've had meningococcal sepsis and I've had meningococcal septic shock. And those are the ones, the story times are the ones that kind of get the best reactions from. Well, I say the best reactions, but yeah.
Why is social media such an important platform for raising awareness, do you think?
I think because social media kind of hits so many different demographics, you do find such a varied audience. And like I say, you have parents, you have patients, you have obviously children just coming into that social media side of things. And it just highlights things a little bit clearer. And like I say, social media is so accessible now, and you can hit a share button. You can set posts to public, you can set them to private. So it just makes it so much more accessible and shareable than maybe a website or anything like that. Because if you share a link to a website, it can be quite intimidating. It's a lot of information all at once, whereas sharing a post, it's a little bit of a short and snappy sort of snippet into what, it is living with a condition, as opposed to, this is an overwhelming sense of information that's just before you. It like I say, you could just pick and choose what you kind of want to share.
Yeah, I think accessibility is the big one for me anyway. I mean, all of our conditions are rare, but having an account on the internet is international. Through my Instagram account, I've been able to connect with people from all over the world. And people message me from, America, from India, from Australia, from so many different places saying, thank you so much for sharing your story because it's been so hard to find someone like me. And I think it's just so important. I'm trying to be the person that I would have appreciated when I was diagnosed, and being able to connect people to others in their country as well. I think it's so, so important when we've got such rare conditions.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I feel through having Instagram and sharing the hashtags, I'm the same. I have people who send me messages and I have to translate them because they're not obviously in English. But now obviously social media does that for you. Somebody sends you a message in a different language and you've got a button that you can click to translate, and then you type back your message in English and it translates for them. So it does just, different countries, different experiences, but brings us all together in a way that maybe other platforms maybe wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary in a way. I find sometimes I'll get a message from someone on the other side of the world and it hits me wow, I'm sharing my very vulnerable side on the internet for everyone to see. And it is a bit scary, but just getting these messages of support from people makes it worthwhile. For sure.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, like I say, one of the first stories I ever read gave me a personal touch of it, and it made me want to do that for other people as well. And it's not necessarily that I have all the answers or I have the same experience, but I feel now from connecting with so many people through social media, especially Instagram, I now sort of have almost a bank of people that I think, right, well, you've been through something similar, so can I they message you? Can I send them your Instagram handle? Can, makes other people accessible as well within the community.
Right. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you both a chance to plug your channels. So what's the name of your channels so to make sure everyone can find them?
So mine's not all about Fanconi anemia, but I do share a lot of Kyra's posts and my experiences, and obviously things like the Better Together project that is amazing we're part of. So my Instagram handle it's an X with an underscore and then Stacey, Stacy, Louise, and that's mine.
And mine is very specifically for my PNH journey. It is PNH_and_me. And yeah, it's public, so come follow me.
And we'll put links to those in the show notes as well to make sure people definitely find them. Social media is clearly an important route to raising awareness, but it's not the only thing we can do. Here's Paula Smith on the power of local campaigning and how it has made a difference in our local hospital.
Paula, thanks for being with us. Could you tell me what your condition is and when you were first diagnosed?
I was diagnosed with aplastic anemia in 96, and then I was diagnosed with Dyskeratosis Congenita in 2013. They knew there was some form of underlying problem, something that was causing the aplastic anemia, but they didn't have the testing. It wasn't coming through on the tests. So they just treated the aplastic anemia. So when my son was diagnosed and I was diagnosed, that's when we got more information about it.
Why would you say it's important to raise awareness of rare conditions such as yours?
Just because people don't understand what you're going through. I can walk down the street and they go, "Oh, you're looking really well." And I'm thinking, but I'm not on the inside. Because you do look okay on the outside and the insides are just not working properly. So you've got to let people know.
So when it comes to the flyers, I know your sort of doctor or previous doctor, Hilary, sent you some flyers. Was that something you wanted to do that she helped you with, or was it her suggestion? How did that come about?
My daughter started that, funnily enough, and it's only just dawned on me. She was in college and they were doing a Christmas snowball or something like that, where they had tables, and she took loads of my jewellery and she donated the money. Yeah, and she were given flyers and pens and a bag for herself. And then I thought, well, I'm going to see if I can get hold of some leaflets to put round hospitals. Just leave them on the tables and things like that.
You mentioned Hilary and Jane. So could you tell me who they are?
Hilary's a doctor. She used to live in London. She's moved to New Zealand, and she's my go-to. If I have any issues, and she checks and sees how I am from time to time. And Jane, I'm not too sure of her last name. I think it's Paxton. She took over Hilary's position.
You've been trying to raise more awareness of the condition to prevent other people having the same situation as you. Obviously, you've been doing this around all the conditions you've been experiencing. How have you managed to do it? I know you mentioned that you were making sure that the hospitals, your local hospital, were giving people the right information. So tell us about what you've been doing.
I've got some printed sheets out from Hilary, and they were really useful. She said to give them to doctors and some to the hospital. So I gave them to the doctors, but didn't seem to read it. She was glaring at it as if she were reading it, but she just put it to one side. I don't know what happened to that. Anyway, I spoke to Jane and she sent me some leaflets, and they're actually on the notice board. And I sent the Better Together group a picture because I was so proud of myself because I got somewhere. Somebody's listening. So my next step when I'm feeling a bit better is to go maybe round a few hospitals and do the same thing. Ask them to put the posters up. because there's people out there that could have the symptoms but not know what they've got.
Thank you so much for your time, Paula.
Finally, let's hear from some of our previous guests on why it's so important to raise awareness among friends and family, healthcare workers, and the general public, and their advice for people living with rare conditions.
I think for me, raising awareness is important because it will enable someone new or someone who's just been diagnosed with a condition to have a better quality of life more quickly, for more people to know about it, and so that they're better informed.
Awareness and knowledge, I think, is very important for both patients and doctors. And I think it's really important as it also helps accelerating the diagnosis process. And we can see how the more information we have and the more people know about the disease, the quicker it is to get the diagnosis right.
The more that's out there, the easier it will be for everyone. Even if it's the smallest things, every little bit helps us get closer to living more comfortably with this condition and maybe even in the future a cure.
Know as much as you can about your illness, how it affects your body, and then take it seriously, look after yourself and advocate for yourself. Speak up when you need to.
Use your community to seek support because they are the people that know what you're going through more than anybody else.
Thanks to Paula, Javita and Stacey for joining us, and thank you for listening. This was the final episode in this series of Rare Voices, but if you'd like to find out more about living with rare conditions, you can find links to all of the charities mentioned in the show notes. We're working towards bringing you another series of the Rare Voices podcast, so stay subscribed to find out more. And be sure to visit super-rare.org/podcasts and leave your feedback to help us fund the next few episodes of this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Better Together for Healthy Bone Marrow Alliance, incorporating the Aplastic Anemia Trust, Congenital Anemia Network, DC Action, Fanconi Hope, P&H Support, and SDS UK. It is funded by the National Lottery Community Fund.